And I believe, explain the dynamics of Templeton as they are right now, and I believe she understands it. And I certainly wouldn't ask the voters to trust this board right now, but I would ask, but I would hope
me.
Hey,
to trust you.
Ask voters
I
to
resent
trust
that.
this board.
I would ask you
I take
to trust you
exception
to
to that.
educate yourselves and attend town meeting. And that's the reason that I would vote to put this article forward, to give you the opportunity to look at things and educate yourselves and to show up at town meeting and have your say. That's why I would vote for this. It's hard to ask for it now, and but circumstances are, there just may be no other way to keep this town from going off the cliff by doing this. But again, I would trust you to educate yourselves as best as possible and to show up at town meeting.
I'd like to hear from the others.
yeah, before I pass it down, I just want to say one more thing. I'm also on the school committee budget subcommittee. It's a long title. And I must say, the last meeting that I attended that we had probably 3 or 4 weeks ago now, it was before Ms. Miller was appointed or given the new superintendent's job. When she was giving us the budget to cut what she had to cut, the first thing she told us back then was, even if she didn't get the superintendent's job, she said we should cut her job. Now, to me, that tells me a lot about her and how she knows how this town needs, to do what we got to do. She was willing to cut her own job before she knew she was going to be the superintendent to get that budget in balance.
My husband and I are both on fixed incomes. I do not want my taxes increased. However, I do want the fire department available when I need them. I want the police department available when I need them. So you've got to make a choice at some point here. You've got to say, where is the balance for this? I would like to think that we could maybe do less of an override than what's being suggested and take some, what we feel is deep cuts, but not as deep as we're taking right now.
Yeah, I think Bud alluded to, or somebody alluded to that meeting on Wednesday, so hopefully if the departments can come up with whatever cuts they can come up with, 500,000 might be lower.
I am for this override because we do need the core services in the town. And like Sue says, you can't guarantee exactly how much your taxes are going to go up, because the taxes go up every year. They adjust according to the assessments and all that. But it's going to be very small considering if we were going to do a complete $500,000 override right from scratch. We're coming off of the senior center, so we would have a start right from there. I don't want to see my taxes go up. As anybody in this room, nobody wants to see the taxes go up, but I don't want to see us lose our core services either.
Thank you. One last comment. Is it possible that we can end up having some minor cuts as well as getting some money here? It may not necessarily be, and I see that not exceed the 500.
Right.
I would think that we need to take a look at something much less, somewhere between 0 and 500.
Correct.
To me, that would be more palatable to most of the townspeople, rather than say we want this money, because once you do a 2.5, it stays. It's not like a debt. If you were saying debt exclusion, I would have to agree with you, Superintendent. I really would. I would say, okay, that's a one more year. Let's do that and see how we are in a year. But this stays on the books. And as you hear, especially the amount of homes that have been foreclosed, that are empty, and I see more and more foreclosures in this community, and that really concerns me, because that is as a taxpayer here, that not all banks are going to end up giving us that tax money, unfortunately.
Yeah, I
And
think-
that's gonna end up impacting everybody.
Yeah, I think that's what the goal is here, to get that number down as low as possible, but yet try to maintain services. A couple more, then we're gonna move on this item, because we're not in quite a while. I saw Bud first.
All right, thank you. I just kind of want to point out that we're talking about fiscal 13 coming up and looking for a 2.5 proposition override to fund core services. And I just want to point out, that's a fix for 13. We got 14, 15, 16, and the future coming in. And I hate to say it, but our prices on gas, diesel, materials that we need to operate in this town are not going down. They are going up dramatically, as we all feel it when we go to the gas pumps. So I just want to point out that a 2.5 override isn't good for anybody with fixed incomes, houses selling in Templeton, and unemployment. But our town's going to be here. And we have to think about that. We have to have a master plan going into place for the future, because a one-time shot of 500,000, and I'm just using that number, I'm not saying that should be what it is, but what are we going to do in 14? We're going to be right back here. We're going to be talking about how are we going to fund core services for 14 and 15, because the government don't care when they start raising up all the prices on gas and diesel and everything else we need. So I just wanted to point that out. It's not a one-time fix.
You're exactly right. It is not, it's only a one-time fix. And so next year, when this comes up again, what are we going to do? Vote in another $500,000 override? I don't think so. That's why we need to take some of the hit in our services now, if that's what it needs to be. I mean, I think we've all, well, not so much me, but a lot of the departments have gotten comfortable. Don't take that wrong. I'm not talking about comfortable like you have plenty of money hanging around, but all of the departments have gotten used to having assistants and that kind of thing. And a lot of towns have literally eliminated assistants in offices. So,
Beverly, you had your hand up for a while.
I really feel bad for you. I know it's an awful spot to be in. I feel bad for Bud, because I know he's working with junk. But we have a board that spent $5,000 in 12 days on lawyers.
Unbelievable.
Hey, what, this,
okay, all right,
People speak.
hey,
put them out.
Beverly, please.
Screaming out.
You know, everybody,
Beverly.
there's money there, doesn't mean you have to spend it.
Well, there's reasons why it was spent. It's not just by this board either, all right? It was spent, some of it was, I'm not gonna get into an argument with you. It was spent by both boards, and so, you know, I'm saying, there's a lot of stuff went on. I guess
I think Sue.
I'm gonna let Mr. Sundstrom first.
In view of everything said, I'd like to make this comment. Valuation has gone down dramatically. So when you go up, it just doesn't tally even, and that's where everything hurts. I was down paying my taxes, and the fellow next to me, he said, God, he said, I can't. I tried to raise more money from the bank, and the bank said, your property is not worth it anymore. They wouldn't give him any more money. He went out with his head down. And that's what's happening all over. The valuation's down, there's nothing, no jobs, and the whole economy is like that. So what you're talking about, the taxpayer is the only asset we have. We don't have any industry. The taxpayer, they're the only one we have.
Okay, thank you. Julie, then Sue, and then Regina. Then we're gonna move on.
What I'd like to say is that
Oh,
it's
and
refreshing
Bob.
to see all the town departments together, including the school, having this discussion. All right? I believe that you need a $500,000 override. I believe the town needs it. I don't think it's going to be successful, because I believe that this board has a credibility issue, and you're going to have all kinds of trouble selling it. setting right now, but it's not going to work in the voting booth. And you need to be very cognizant and aware of it. You have an agenda item to go into executive session, which is going to cost the town more and more money needlessly. And people are aware of it. Your credibility is not real high right now with the townspeople and with the taxpayers. And I believe this town does need this.
Enough.
Okay.
We're not
We-
trying,
We're not,
yeah, you're
You're
done.
your rules. You want 2
Julie.
minutes? I didn't have 3 minutes.
Julie,
I'm going to speak.
I'm gonna,
You want to let us speak?
It's gonna take her out.
I'd like to address her question.
yeah.
I'd like to address her question. We are here as department heads. When have you seen the school department and the police department and the highway department and the fire department stand before you and say, we need your help? It's not the board that brought this up, it's us that brought it up. We had a department meeting, Mr. Columbus was in and out of the meeting, there were no other selectmen there. We know we're in trouble, we need your help. It's not the board, it's the department heads that are here that are putting this issue on. It's Ruth and I that asked that get put on the agenda, because we know where we're going, and we don't like it, and you won't like it when we get there if things don't change.
Is the loose spending of the board?
Hey, all right. We're gonna,
Who presents it?
You don't have the floor right now.
hey, we're gonna take a vote on this, open the warrant. We need to move on. I need a motion to reopen the annual town meeting warrant.
Let him speak, he hasn't spoke. Excuse me, but you did say before I could speak, can I just say one thing?
You did say she could.
All right.
Okay. I just want to take exception to Virginia saying that in the past we've all had gotten whatever we wanted for the department. My department.
I didn't say that.
She didn't-
Has had my revale money cut in the past few years. I've always had my mapping money cut. I don't have a problem, I've done my 20%. They're not going to be happy with me, but I've done my 20%, and that means me cutting hours and cutting my assistant hours, cutting my board's salaries down to 0, and cutting my office expenses. I'm down to bare bones, okay? This is what we discussed, and this is why we're meeting. If you want an override to pass, you're going to have to continue having the department head meetings on Wednesday, and we're going to have to keep trashing and cutting anything that can be cut. And then when the taxpayers see that, then maybe an override will pass when they see what we have done. Because like I said at the meeting, the chief maybe can get 8%, maybe if he's lucky. Some of us maybe can do 20%, some of us maybe can do more. And that's why we have to continue with these meetings on Wednesday. And maybe if the taxpayers see us do that, then they'll vote for a small override.
That's exactly right. We want to get that number down as low as we can. Bob, and then we're going to move on here.
Got another tile. Here, that is.
Okay.
If you want to improve credibility, then you ought to get rid of the short-term loan for the 250 to Waldenville Road, stop going out for bid.
No,
Spend money when you're
that's-
looking for money.
That's for a discussion for another time.
Yeah.
One more in the back. In the back?
I think it might help if you define what core services are for the town. I mean, I'm a stupid taxpayer, so I don't know.
Do you want a full-time fire department? Do you want a police officer to come to your house when you call one, no matter what, 24 hours a day? Do you want an ambulance service? Those are core services. That's what we start with. We hope that we don't get touched first, but we've all been asked to take an even 20% cut across the board.
But I'm asking core services as what they're asking. Is it that highway, police?
Core services are also services that bring in revenue to the town, your tax collector, your assessors, all those offices. If you don't have those offices, there's no money that comes into town. If you close those offices and people will come in and pay your taxes, we can't run.
So it's to operate the town. Yes. That's what this money is for. It's to operate the.
It's to balance the budgets. You will vote where the money goes at town meeting. We will put in budget requests. There's a process we go through. It's either accepted or denied. You vote it, approve it, or you don't.
So the 2.5 question goes on the
the town meeting floor, then it will go to the ballot. That's all we're asking, put it before the floor, hopefully it'll go to the ballot.
Okay, I'll accept the motion to open the town meeting warrant for these 3 articles.
So moved.
I hear a second.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, Jeff?
Yes.
Oh, hold on. I didn't see it, though, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I would just like to understand why, I mean, I'm not against any of these articles. I think all 3 of them should get presented to town floor, so I'm not against any of them. But I'm just wondering why we're reopening the annual town meeting versus putting them on the special town. In years past, we've always been told annual town meeting has to close 2 months before, 3 months before, and it's a done deal. Now here we are, less than 2 months away, and we're reopening it to add.
We wanted the article for the Prop 2.5 should be on the annual, what we were told, and we were going to open up for one, so we may as well open it up for the 3 of them.
Right, but in years past, we've never been able to reopen.
Yeah, but, well, the Monty Tech thing has to be on the annual.
But, yeah, the Monty Tech has to be on the annual also. That's why we did it.
So we're setting a new precedent for the future. If we have something we want on the annual, even though the warrant's been closed, we can reopen it.
Yes, you're allowed to do it if they so vote. Dan?
The only articles that can be on the special within the annual town meeting are articles to address fiscal year 2012.
Right.
The articles that you're discussing tonight are for fiscal 2013 must appear on the annual town meeting.
Okay. Jeff?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
And yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Ms. Miller and Chief. Now we need a motion to close the...
Move to close the annual town meeting warrant.
Second?
Second.
Jeff?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
And yes. Okay, action on appointment, animal control officer. We got, hold on please. Need to reappoint Kim Landry for the animal control officer from May 1st, 2012 to April 30th, 2013. Hear a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Okay, now discussion. Somebody want to have something
On this article.
on this article? Yes.
It wasn't on this article, but I was wondering why we didn't go to old business. I had a question on the old business. You're on the new
Missed old business.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll back up to old business. Yes, sir.
My question is, that there was a letter read by Pete Farrell from Mr. Constantino.
Yes.
And I'm wondering what the board is doing with that letter. We haven't heard anything back from that, or?
No, it was supposed, they would, went around to get signatures from the board. For what reason, I don't know. Nobody approached me about it. I was willing to discuss it with Mr. Constantino, and I haven't heard from him, so.
Papers on your desk.
Huh?
Papers on your desk.
Well, if you want to discuss it, Paulie, why don't we get together?
I'm not going to sign it.
The papers on your desk to sign. All these.
How many signatures have you got?
5 you need.
I wanted to talk to you first about it. Okay.
I don't know if I deal with the trespass laws.
Polly,
Really?
I personally will not sign that until I have more information. That letter was very vague to me, and I want information before I'll sign anything.
You could read it.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor for action on animal control officer. Any discussion on that? Yes.
I just just like to ask a question. Most all of our positions are for fiscal years, but this one we're doing at a different time frame, because you said it expires April. Why aren't we
That's when
doing
she got
That's when
appointed.
she got appointed.
It's by law, though.
Oh, the chief.
Chief here?
It's actually, there's a special statute for the ACO, that's their appointment time. We go through this every year, they have to be appointed by law in this period of time. It doesn't, you're right, it's not
Okay.
concurrent with our regular appointment. It needs to be appointed by law, by statute.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Penny?
I speak from personal experience. As most of you know, that the dog we were just holding for until we decided what to do with him last December, accidentally went crazy and kind of ripped my husband's face off.
So,
And he's, he's doing better, but whatever. And of course, rescue came right away, the police came right away. I was so impressed with them. Well, the animal officer, it took a while to get there. I understand, she's got other things to do. But she refused to take the dog, and I was so afraid. But she said, no, I have other dogs in my kennel, in my car, I can't do it. I was petrified. I had to shut the door and still have this dog in my house. If Donnie wasn't in the hospital in the emergency room, he would have shot him, which would have meant he would have been arrested. I couldn't call her the next morning because her phone was being charged or some crazy thing, and she was saying it was my responsibility to take care of this dog. I was devastated. My brother had just passed away. Here's my husband all messed up. I just think she's so inept, and then she finally she takes him to get quarantined, and he's looking and playing with other dogs. To me, that's not a quarantine. I think she's totally inept, and she doesn't deserve to be appointed.
Penny, did you file a complaint about that with the selectmen? Well, that wasn't a funny question.
I know.
It's
All
my
right.
fault then again.
All right.
I just think she's totally inept.
all right.
We can't do anything unless we know about it. I don't know what happened.
Okay. Pat?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Jeff?
No.
And yes.
Can I say something else? Can we look into this and to have somebody talk to the dog officer and make sure that...
Chief, did you want to speak to this, please? Chief's gonna...
All I can say is there was an investigation that's done, and I'd be glad to speak to Mrs. Marini about the facts. There was a very thorough investigation into the incident.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You don't have all the facts because she doesn't hear.
Thank you.
And one thing
That's all we're done. We got...
You don't have to have 3 minutes. It's up to the discretion of the...
No, don't even bother. Okay, action on appointment for Virginia Wilder to the Templeton Developmental Center Visioning Committee. Virginia submitted a letter of interest, and anybody's ready, a motion to appoint Virginia Wilder as Selectman's representative on that committee, effective immediately.
Do you want me to read the letter?
Yeah, go ahead.
Pursuant to Article 56 as amended by Article 90, Section 3 of the amendments to the Constitution, specifically House Bill 4800, Sections 118 and 120, the Templeton Developmental Center Visioning Committee shall include 3 representatives of the town of Templeton, one of whom shall be a member of the Board of Selectmen or his designee, who shall serve as the chairperson of such committee, one of whom shall be a member of the Templeton Planning Board or his designee, and one other member who shall be chosen by the Board of Selectmen. These members shall be appointed annually by the local governing body. Since the Board of Selectmen does not have an appointee at this time, I would like this board to consider appointing me to this committee for 1 year so that we can fulfill our obligation to this amendment to the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and so that I can move on with negotiations for land at the Fernal School.
Okay, if anybody's ready, accept the motion.
I move to appoint Virginia Wilder as the Selectman's representative to the Templeton Developmental Center Visioning Committee for 1 year effective immediately.
he's all done.
I move to appoint Virginia Wilder as the Selectman's representative to the Templeton Developmental Center Visioning Committee for 1 year, effective immediately.
Is there a second?
Just, should we make it to June 30th of 2013?
That's fine.
Well, that was my question for the term.
Okay.
Nancy, is it till the end of the fiscal year, or?
Well, you can do it
We can
till
start
the end
appointing
of
for next year.
June. You can do it till 2013.
Yeah,
All right.
so
So
that's what I...
make it to, amend it to June 30th,
2013.
2013.
So move that way.
Okay, move second.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
I don't want to be on.
Yes.
Just outline what that position is and what it entails entirely.
This is a position that was, that is dictated by the state under the Constitution for these types of people, of land. Specifically, this one is for this piece of land. And because they are scheduled to break down operations at the Fresno, I keep calling it the Fresno School, the Templeton Developmental Center, the town could possibly be in line for getting some land up there to use for some purpose in our town. And right now, we don't have a committee, selectmen on that committee, and it's dictated under the law that we're supposed to. So I would like to get that movement made so that we can, so that I can, because the person from the select board is the chairman of that committee, I want to call a meeting of that committee.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Does this committee have paid employees?
No. Yes, Kevin.
Virginia, you alluded earlier that you wanted to be on this committee to get a land for a purpose of your own, is what I think you said. Not necessarily the elementary school that Bob spoke of earlier. Can you describe
Right,
that?
certainly not for a purpose of my own. Yeah, I just want to make that clear. Yeah, I am in favor of it being available for, there are many things that we're going to need land for, perhaps for the municipal building project, perhaps for the fire, the chief, the police. The police department is going to be in need of expanding into a bigger and a newer place. And so wherever we need it is where I want to have it available to us to use.
Okay. All set. Jeff?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Virginia?
I think I have to abstain.
All right, one abstention. Pat?
Yes.
And yes. Okay. Action on hiring of 4 seasonal laborers for the cemetery parks department. Here we go. Mr. Mayo and one of the commissioners, Mr. Sari and Mr. Sands.
Good evening.
Good evening.
As you know, every year, this is the time of year when the Cemetery and Parks Department come back to the Board of Selectmen to approve appointments for our seasonal help for the summer months. This year, due to the budget constraints, that would be one of the items that we are looking very closely at as a target for a 20% cut. So this position actually may only be available from now, first part of April until July, depending on what happens with our budgets. But I am asking that you appoint the 4 people that I have sent to you on the letter: James Whalen, Rob Levange, Garnett Comey, and Mark Anderson, to our crew this year. They are the same people that worked last year. They have been committed to the town for several years. They do a good job. They know the ins and outs of all the properties wherever we have to work. They know how to get it done in a timely fashion and do a great job doing it. I did interview 15 applicants, and out of the 15, I feel that these are the most qualified for the best of the town. And looking at where we're thinking about budget cuts, or we may have to make budget cuts, we need the best help available. So this is why my recommendation is for these four, and I think it's the best for the town.
Okay. Anybody on the board have anything for Alan? Anyone on the board want to speak? Yeah.
Just one question. I know Jimmy Whalen retired last year, I believe. Does he collect a pension from this town?
No.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Anybody else on the board?
Good.
No. Okay, Regina?
I think there could be a little conflict of interest. I don't think that Selectman Mr. Millen should be voting to hire one of the four candidates.
Why?
Why?
Who?
I think there's a conflict of interest.
Who?
It's a female that is on to be hired.
Garnett?
Where's the conflict?
Where's the conflict?
She helped pick up some stuff for him, we'll say. I think it's a conflict of interest. I don't think that he should be voting to hire her.
I don't see the
No, there's no conflict of interest there.
I don't really want to get into any of
Well,
that.
good.
I just think there's a
It's a
conflict
good
of
idea.
interest on him voting. You have four other seats that could vote.
Thank you.
There's no reason for him not to vote.
Don't, any, no. Anyone ready to make a motion to take Alan's recommendation to hire?
I move that we take Alan's recommendation for the 4 seasonal laborers. Julie wants to try.
Hold on.
Yeah,
Somebody second.
not yet. We'll wait.
Is there a second?
Okay.
Did you get the motion?
Motion was for Jim.
Right. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
A second. This discussion.
Yeah. I don't know what she was talking about. Probably don't really want to know what she was talking about. But why don't we do the 3 and then just do Garnett separately, just to make everybody happy?
I would like to know if there's a conflict first.
Well, she doesn't want to obviously discuss it in public, so.
Julie?
My question is about the hiring of the 4 seasonal laborers. If there is a budget shortfall, come July 1st, what happens?
He adjusted.
Right now, if there's a budget shortfall of 20%, then I am liable to lose at least 3 and possibly 4 of the seasonal positions. Those seasonal positions do most of the lawn cutting, the maintenance, and that type of stuff for your cemeteries, your parks, your ball fields, for your children when they play ball. They've done a lot of work at Gilman Waite, doing that type of stuff up there. So that's what we're looking at. For core services for our department, unfortunately, I have to do burials. It's required by state law that the town do that. And we have to maintain the cemeteries because there is perpetual care in those cemeteries, and that's required by law.
My follow-up is, we know that we're in difficult financial times right now. We don't know if an override will pass. You know that if you have to make a 20% cut, this is the cut that you're going to have to make, because by law you have to do burials in cemetery. So I would like to know what the board is going to do, each one of you, what is your plan to do if this comes to fruition? You're going to appoint them, and then you're going to have to lay them on.
Do they collect? Of course.
Of course.
Part-time? I don't think so.
In season, they collect.
Yeah, they do.
It's a good point.
Yeah, Bud?
Question from you, Chair, to Alan. Don't you pay for them out of perpetual care? Under the Mass General Law?
I don't believe so, but we are looking at that presently. That is one of the things that we're looking at. But I do not believe so. I have been told in the past that no. The problem is that when you pay them out of perpetual care, you have to absolutely guarantee they're in the cemeteries all the time, and we cover so many areas that that would be a difficult thing to do, and I don't even know if it's feasible, but we are checking with town council.
Do we want to keep the same motion on the floor? Yeah. One.
Alan, these are the same people that were your seasonals last year, so they're already collecting unemployment right now, correct? Because they went off the books in the winter.
Correct.
So, you know, they're already collecting unemployment. We can at least get them off the unemployment for a couple of months until the end of June, and then if he has to lay them off, they go back on. But in the meantime, we'd have them doing work for a couple of months, 3 months.
Yes.
Can any of the work that is done by these laborers be done by either Department of Corrections or community service people? Yeah.
Believe it or not, we actually use the Department of Corrections and community service people. I have a crew of Department of Corrections slated to come in April and help us out. And I also have some community service people that have called me recently and are scheduled to start work. But those are not guaranteed. They're not something you can plan or something you can count on. So.
Can you get more Department of Corrections people to work with you, more community service? Can you talk to the court? Can you go talk to Department of Corrections? Let them know what kind of situation the town is in and how badly they're needed?
We have done that. We have asked and asked. The problem is that every town is pretty much in the same boat. So they try to designate crews so that they get them out to each and every town, so they kind of share as much as possible.
It's a lot
So
of
they-
inmates.
Well, there is, you're right, but they only allow certain inmates to come out. They have to have certain criteria. They got to be close to getting out, their time out, a few months left in. They don't let out violent inmates, violent crimes. So, I mean, there's a lot of criteria to it. But we do the best we can to try to get those kind of people.
Regina and then Stella.
The Pajari fund, couldn't some of that be put towards building way instead of the roof up here?
We're talking about hiring the
Right,
Four
for
Seasons.
parks, for the parks and cemeteries and whatnot like that. So instead of taking $100,000 or wanting to from the Pajari fund for the roof, why can't we take a little bit to maintain our parks for our children?
Yeah.
I don't think you need.
There's an article for that on the
We
warrant.
have one on there already. Stella.
I'm not really against the extra help coming in, don't get me wrong. I know we need to do it, but maybe there's some volunteers around town that want to help out elderly people or such that are doing nothing. I personally cut the soccer field for the kids to play soccer on for years already. And I get no pay for that, I don't ask for no pay, I just do it as a volunteer. Perhaps maybe, Alan, you could look into a few volunteers, maybe even one, to cut one position, where the shortfall is such.
I certainly do like the idea of volunteers. We have had them in the past. And we welcome people to come down to the cemetery department and we will look at that issue with them. I know that there is a process that the town requires them to go through because of liability, insurance, and that type of stuff. So, but certainly we do work with that as well as all of our community service people and those kind of people. But again, a lot of times it's not something you can guarantee. People that volunteer They volunteer because they don't have anything to do at a specific time, but it's not always when you need them either. So, I mean, it does help, and it does take some of the burden off, and maybe we could do less cuts by doing that, and certainly it is an option.
Boy Scouts, something like that?
We do utilize the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts, and so we utilize a lot of it. We have a lot of area to cover.
Just one thing on volunteers, it's very hard, and sometimes there's a lot of issues involved with letting people volunteer, whether they're children or adults. My kids used to try to walk the dogs at the dog pound up here, and all of a sudden, one day they went on a Saturday to do that, and they were told they couldn't do it anymore because of a liability issue. So, it's not always easy, believe me. State laws are unbelievable.
Okay. We're all set to take a vote here on Alan's recommendation. This motion's been made and seconded. Jeff?
I'm a little reluctant, but I will vote yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
Pat?
I'll abstain.
And yes. Thank you.
They didn't have to do it my account.
Okay. Some meeting reminders, March 27th, Planning Board 6:30, Planning Board Office 328, Personnel Board 6:30, I guess that one's been canceled. Yeah, canceled. And April 9th, Board of Selectmen 6:30, location to be determined. Okay, before we make a motion here during executive session, I just want to announce that we'll be coming back into open session to discuss subsection 1 under the executive session. So I'll accept the motion to go into executive session for numbers 2 and 3. Yes.
I just need a little clarification. I'm not sure how many weeks ago it was, but you laid out some rules for the public participation in the meetings. One of your rules that we have 3 minutes to speak. You're not allowing that. Why?
Well, some cases it's not. It gets a little off.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
It gets a little off track, off the agenda.
I perceive it, and I'm sure a lot of people do, as your personal feelings get involved. You're not letting people have their 3 minutes.
Well, I'm trying, Diana. I know it.
I just wanted to point that out.
There's a lot of emotions here because of what's been going on and so forth. And I'll try to do better.
Yeah, you laid out the rules, at least give them the 3 minutes.
But like I said, it is up to the chair.
Up to 3 minutes.
Up to 3 minutes.
You made the rules.
All right.
Up to 3 minutes.
Mr. Chairman?
We're gonna make a motion to enter an executive session and we'll have discussion.
Before you do that, Mr. Chairman, I'll just make one point of order. Through the Robert Rules of Order, that any questions you have on here, that we do have the right to speak for 3 minutes under the Robert Rule of Order, as long as it's pertaining to that question.
Correct.
You have to give us that time. Under the Robert Rules of Order.
Well,
As long as it's pertaining to
and if there's no misbehavior or anything like that. I didn't say, I'm just saying.
But you have to allow that.
No.
Under the Robert Rules of Order, you have to
As many of you well know, it is up to the discretion of the chairman whether you can speak at all. He's allowing you to speak because we're trying to allow people to have some input.
I'll bring that book in and I'll make a copy of you so you can see.
Yeah, and bring the law at the same time.
I will.
Okay.
Next meeting.
We need a motion to go into executive sessions under subsection 2 and 3, and we'll be coming out, when we come out, we'll be going into subsection 1. So accept the motion.
So moved.
I hear a second.
I'll second it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Do I need to read it? Okay.
It's not here by both.
Okay.
Excuse me. I move that the Board of Selectmen convene an executive session pursuant to the provisions of General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, subsection 2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, town coordinator, and I further move that the Board of Selectmen convene in executive session pursuant to the provisions of General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, subsection 3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation, and I hereby declare that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body.
Second to the amended motion?
Second.
Second. All right. All those in favor, excuse me, I'll start with Jeff.
No.
Chris?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
Virginia?
Yes.
And yes. So, we're gonna go into executive session, and we'll be...
1 second.
Right.
Why did we have to pay you for the 7?
Yeah, I think he said that, didn't you?
I did say it.
You have to say.
Oh, you have to
okay.
say that.
Okay, I hereby declare that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body.
Yes.
You have to say whether you're reconvening.
Yeah, I did. I did say we'll be reconvening to discuss